Good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Obina John. Right. So today I want to talk about choosing a statistical test. Right. So how do you go about choosing a statistical test? Right. Because you can't just use any test to test your hypothesis. All right. So that's what I'm going to do today. Let me just give a summary of how we go about this. First of all, you want to check normality. When I mean normality is you want to check if your data that you've gotten if it's normally distributed or not normally distributed. How do we go about this? Is very easy, alright, but I'm not going to cover that in this video right now. I'll cover that in another video which will be posted in the future. Alright, then after checking the normality, if your data is normally distributed or not, then you will now also take note of the type of data that you are getting, if it's categorical or continuous. All right, so categorical or continuous data will tell you what type of test to use. Then you want to choose the appropriate test based on the comparisons you want to make. All right, so if you are looking at relationship, or you want to just look at compare two variables together. All right, so when it comes to comparison, you want to use tests like independent t-test or one-way ANOVA. Then you want to use Cross-Kawali's test here. Then when it comes to relationship correlation, you are looking at Pearson's correlation, Spearman correlation, then regression analysis. So without talking too much, let's just go straight to the point and do some practical. So I have this image here with me. This is like a summary. It's a summary of what I just explained. So here we have data. We have categorical. The data can be categorical or continuous. So it now goes down. So this is like this. They're basically for comparison, for comparing. Then this particular one is for continuous, like sorry, not continuous now, relation, like you want to look at correlation or relationship. Then this chi-square is for non-parametric tests, and also can be used based on some studies and some school of thought, can be used for parametric tests, but the only condition is that the both variables to be tested now have to be categorical data, right? So that is that about this image. So let's work with what we have here. So in this research hypothesis, there is no significant relationship between the factors contributing to stress during clinical placement and the strategies utilized by nursing students to manage stress. So now we have two variables here. Let's identify it together. We have factors contributing to stress, during clinical placements, and we have strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress. All right. So these two variables now, one is independent and the other one is dependent. All right. So now factors contributing to stress during clinical placements, it remains constant. It does not change. So that is independent. All right. So the strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress is dependent on the factors contributing to stress. So this is independent and this is dependent. All right, so that is that about this particular variable. Now depending on how the researcher feels to collect this data, all right, so these two variables, all right, the data for this variable can be categorical, at the same time can be continuous. categorical in the sense that factors contributing to stress during clinical. What are the factors? Is the you can look at is the factors high, is the factor low, is the factor like in between, like medium, right? That would be categorical data. So if we are talking about continuous data, the researcher will be collecting data in numerical forms. All right. So for strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress, right? The researcher too can also tweak this in a way that it can be collected in like numerical form or in a categorical manner, which is going to maybe strategies utilize maybe a negative strategy, a positive strategy, something like that. So that will be looking at that. With that, we'll be looking at categorical data, right? So each researcher can choose to say, okay, I want this data to be continuous. I want this to be categorical, right? So now, number two here, we have significant relationship between academic level of students and the coping strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress. Okay, so we have academic level and we have coping strategies again. All right, so coping strategies utilized by nursing students. So here, from here, we can deduce that there's no way we will not use comparison here, right? Because we are looking at academic level. So if we are looking at academic level, we'll be looking at either maybe between 100 level and 300 level, 200 level and 400 level, depending. Then coping strategies for these two different levels. All right. So from this now, from what we have here, for the first one now, we have, let's assume this is going to be a continuous data and this one is going to be categorical. All right. Yeah, let's say this is going to be continuous and this is going to be categorical. What's based on what we have here in this image, right? So we have one categorical, one continuous. So based on what we have here in that image, we'll be making use of one-way ANOVA, right? Because we have one categorical and the other one is continuous, right? So that's why we are using one-way ANOVA, right? And we can also, if the both of them are, for instance, the both data is going to be continuous data, we can use Pearson's correlation, right? So if the both of them, both data is going to be continuous, we can use Pearson's correlation, or we can also use regression analysis if we are looking at how the independent data affects the dependent data, right? So we can use regression analysis. So we are trying to see how the changes in the values of the independent variable, how it affects the dependent variable. So that's what we are going to be doing there. Then if for instance both data, like let's say the factors contributing to stress and the strategy utilized by nursing students, these two data are categorical. Let's assume it's going to be categorical data we get at the long run. So that means what we are going to do with these two is chi-square. Right, so what we are going to do, or what the particular test or the perfect test for this, statistical test for this will be chi-square. Right, so now this particular one, we have academic level of students and we have coping strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress. So without wasting time, let's scroll to the hypothesis testing. Let's see what the researcher used for this particular this testing of hypothesis. So chi-square and t-test analysis were used in testing hypothesis 1 and 2. Okay, let's see if the researcher was actually right with this. So there is no significant relationship between the factors contributing to stress during clinical placement and the strategies utilized by nursing students to manage stress. Okay, so for this one now, you see here coping strategy is good, poor, categorical value. Alright, so according to what we have here, the coping strategy, we have good and we have poor. Alright, so that is categorical value. Then for the factors contributing to stress, we have high and we have low. Alright, so from all this now we can now deduce that the both of them are categorical. So chi-square test is perfect for this. Okay, so that is that. Let's see what we use for the next test. So here they say there's no significant relationship between the academic level of students and the coping strategy utilized by nursing students to manage stress. Okay, so academic level, we are looking at comparison. So we are comparing first year. According to what we are comparing first year and third year, right? These 2 years, we see comparison. So according to this image we have here, we are comparing. So if you are comparing according to this image we have here, what for comparison we use independent t-test, right? Why? Because you are comparing to a particular variable that has 2 groups, right? So that's where independent t-test and one way ANOVA comes in. If for instance now we are not talking about 2 groups, we now have 3 or more groups, that's when we use one way ANOVA, right? So independent t-test will help us compare groups within a particular variable. Alright, so according to what we have here, we have academic level first year and second year. The both are we got data from first year, we got data from third year. Now we are now looking at how these data affects, or how the what we are testing for is the coping strategies of first year students and the third year students, right? So t-test is the only sample test, or is the only statistical test that is perfect for this particular hypothesis, right? So the researcher has done a good job here by using the particular or the perfect statistical test, right? So let's come back again to our image. Let's do a quick summary. So like I said, we have data. Once our data is categorical or continuous, right, what we want to do is right, so for comparison we want to use these two. Independent t-test comes in when we are comparing two groups in a particular variable, right? Like gender, if you are looking at gender, male or female, that is 2 group in a particular variable, which is gender. All right, so if you are looking at 3 or more variables, 3 or more groups in a particular variable, that's when we use one way ANOVA. All right, so but if we are now looking at our data, and the both data we are trying to analyze is the both of them are continuous data, then we are now looking at relationship. Then we'll look at we'll use our Pearson's correlation, right? That is if it's a parametric test, or Spearman rank correlation if it's non-parametric. Then we also use regression analysis. Now regression analysis is one that we use when we want to see how the values of an independent variable affects the values of dependent variable, right? So that's what we do there. Then if our work or the variables in our hypothesis now, the both of them are giving us a categorical data, then we want to use chi-square test. So in summary, we check normality, we know the type of data, whether it's categorical or continuous, we choose the appropriate test based on comparisons. Yes, it can be relationship we are looking at, it can be trying to compare, or we are looking at relationship. So we choose based on those 2 things. And another thing again I want us to know is that normality applies to continuous data. Yes, so when we are looking at normality, when we are looking at a data and is normally distributed, it's usually applied to a continuous data, not a categorical data. All right, um, so that will be all for this particular video, and I hope that with this I've been able to give us idea of how to go about choosing the right statistical test for our hypothesis. So guys, please do not forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, alright, and turn on the notification button. So if there's any question, please put it on the comment section below, alright, and that will be all. Bye for now.